What's up, guys? Welcome back to the UFC arena. We're talking about UFC 258, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Let's get into it. So, stepping into the arena, we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. This is a tough fight for Gastelum, and Gastelum hasn't been getting any easy fights. Darren Till, Jack Hermanson, like this is just another hard fight. Ian Heinisch was like a highly touted prospect when he came into the UFC. He has had a few losses in the UFC, two losses, but he did bounce back last year with a first round knockout of Gerald Meerschaert. Now, Ian Heinisch is a powerful wrestler, and I think he's at his best when he's able to impose his wrestling game. He's able to take people down, and he's able to land some nasty elbows, some vicious ground and pound. When he's able to do those kind of things, he's at his best. If you look at his two losses in the UFC, they're both to strong wrestlers. So he lost to Derek Brunson, strong wrestler, and he also lost to Omari Akhmedov, another strong wrestler. And the reason he lost these fights is because he was not able to implement the wrestling game that he normally would against these two guys. However, he may be able to do this against Gastelum. Now, I know Gastelum is also a wrestler. Gastelum is no slouch on the ground, but I don't know if he is a wrestler to the level of those two guys that Ian Heinisch fought. Ultimately, though, I think that Gastelum has enough defensive wrestling and enough wrestling capabilities that when Heinisch takes him down, because I do think Heinisch will take him down at some point, I think he'll be able to get back up to his feet. And I think that the advantage that Heinisch has in the wrestling is not as big as the advantage that Kelvin has in his striking. Kelvin, when he's on, is one of the best strikers in the UFC. He has one of the best 1-2s in the UFC. His 1-2 is so sharp, it's up there with Max Holloway, it's up there with Michael Johnson. These guys have very fast 1-2, pop, pop. And Kelvin Gastelum, whew, that's his bread and butter. When he hits you with that, you're gonna fall. So just like Heinisch, Gastelum has suffered a few setbacks, as I mentioned previously, with Hermanson and with Till, and I think that he needs to get his mind right. He says he's in a better mind state, so let's hope that is true. We'll see on Saturday. I think if the best Gastelum shows up, he should be victorious, and I will even say that he would finish Heinisch, let's say second round knockout. Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. This fight all of a sudden is the co-main event. I mean, last I checked it wasn't, and now it is. But I understand, because if you remember, the UFC has been behind Macy Barber, and they have also been behind Alexa Grasso. So these are both fighters that the UFC have been trying to promote since way back when. They're hoping that Grasso could become a star for the Mexican community, and they just like the young prospect that Macy Barber is. She's very young, she's 22 years old, barely, right? She only turned 22 back in November. She entered the UFC at 20 years old, and she's an impressive prospect, right? A lot of people just like to hate on prospects. I don't really understand it. Just because someone is new or just because someone isn't proven yet does not mean that they aren't good, or does not mean that you need to hate on the success that they do have, right? I've seen a lot of people bashing Macy Barber because she lost her last fight. She lost her last fight to Roxanne Modafferi, but in that fight, she suffered a significant injury, right? She blew out her ACL in the fight. And also, Roxanne Modafferi has beaten a lot of people. On a good night, Roxanne Modafferi is a very tough challenge. So, Macy Barber is still young. No one is saying she has to become the champion at 23 years old. It's okay. She has time to develop. So it's okay. She does not need to be the best fighter in the world right at this moment. That's okay. Let her develop. UFC is pushing her, so what? That's how you make stars. If the UFC never pushed anyone, there would be no stars. Anyway, so in this fight versus Grasso, I think that Alexa Grasso is more technical than Macy, and her stand-up game is a bit better. However, I do think Macy is the more powerful of the two, and if Macy gets you on the ground, that's a different story. She's strong. I think that's one of her greatest attributes, is how strong she is. So her power translates on the ground as well as on the feet. So I think if she's able to get Grasso down, she would be able to land some powerful blows. But getting Grasso down isn't the easiest thing either. And I think Grasso is good at keeping distance. She's good at striking technically. So it might be hard for Macy to get close. But I think I'll stay on the hype train. I know she lost to Roxanne, but I'll give her a pass on that one, for one, being young, and for the injury that she suffered. So I'm going back with Macy for this fight. I think that it's impressive that she has 8 wins with 7 finishes. That's pretty impressive, especially for the female division. So I'm gonna go with Macy Barber, but this is a very close fight as well, and I would not be surprised if Grasso won a decision. But I'm gonna support Macy here, and I'm gonna say Macy Barber, and I'm gonna go with a decision. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Whew, I'm excited for this one, and I don't think I've ever gone back and forth so much when picking between two fighters. One moment I'm like, Gilbert Burns gonna win for sure, Gilbert Burns is the hardest matchup for Usman. His jiu-jitsu, his striking, everything that Usman is good at, Gilbert Burns is like the ultimate counter to that. And then I'd flip and flop to the other side, and I'd be like, but Usman is so strong, and he's trained with Gilbert Burns before. He knows all the things that Gilbert likes to do, so he'll be a lot less likely to get caught in submissions. He knows the techniques that Gilbert likes to use, and Usman is so strong and powerful that he could definitely, at least hold Gilbert down and be safe. And if it's one thing that Usman seems to be very good at, it's being safe. So I could also see this fight going in the direction of like a boring kind of decision where Usman just does just enough to win. But then I go to Gilbert Burns again, and I'm like, but he's so good though. Like, his striking is on a different level, and if he's able to keep things on the feet, he might be able to beat Usman on the feet. Now, Usman is not a striker by trade, but he's by no means easy to beat on the feet either. He could definitely handle himself and protect himself on the feet. He has power. He doesn't finish much fights, but he did land a knockout in one of his earlier fights. But Gilbert Burns has power as well. And even when we compare the two of them and their common opponent in Tyron Woodley, we see that they both kind of dominated Woodley everywhere. So it's like, these two guys definitely should be fighting. This is the fight that should be taking place. A lot of people, well, not a lot of people actually, mainly Ariel Helwani was trying to push this Leon Edwards thing. Leon Edwards should fight for the title. Leon Edwards deserves the title. And honestly, yes, Edwards has an 8-fight win streak, but when you look at Edwards' resume, it just does not stack up to somebody like Burns. It does not stack up to some of the other contenders that were there, right? Edwards is close, but I do think he needs to win another fight before he could just jump in there against Usman, who already beat him, by the way. With that being said, Burns is training like a beast. If you see Burns on the embedded, this man look like he's in shape to fight 5 Usmans and to fight 15 rounds. The man looks like a beast. He's definitely taking this seriously. Usman, as always, Usman always looks like a beast, right? So we know Usman puts in the work. Both of these guys put in the work, and they're going to show up come fight night. And come fight night, they're going to show up in peak condition. So that just makes this so much harder to predict. This fight is a really close one, and I still don't know who to go with. I think I have this gut feeling that a lot of people are picking Burns to win, right? And that's completely understandable because Usman is a powerful wrestler. But would you want to wrestle with Burns? Maybe not, because Burns' jiu-jitsu is very, very high level. We're talking Damian Maya level, we're talking Kron Gracie, we're talking ridiculously high level jiu-jitsu. Like, if you want to take Burns down, he's going to let you take him down. He'd be like, by all means, come down here, let's see how good you are. But the interesting dynamic once again is that they train together and they know each other so well. They know what works and what doesn't work. We don't know, and we're just gonna have to see. And And then Usman moved and he's now training with Trevor Whitman. That could add potentially some new wrinkles to his game that Burns isn't familiar with. But is that somehow better than Burns staying with the team that he is with, that team that knows Usman so well? Because even if you learn new things, a lot of the things that they're accustomed to Usman doing and the style that Usman has is not going to change. So they would have a very good idea of what to expect and who they are preparing for. I am going to go with Usman. That's my pick. I'm sticking to it. I'm going to go with Usman because I think he's going to stay safe. I think he's going to be safe on the feet. I think he's going to push Burns up against the cage. He's going to spend a lot of time on the cage. That's what I think. I think that if for some reason they end up on the ground, he's going to stay very safe on the ground as well. He's not going to be excessive with his ground and pound. He's not going to be excessive with any actions that he's trying to do. I think he's going to be alert at all times, especially because they have trained together for so many years and for so long. I think it would be hard for either one of these guys to finish each other because they know what to look for and they know what to look out for. So I'm going to go with Usman by decision, and actually potentially a boring decision. Now I know a lot of people are picking Burns, but I'm going to go Usman on this one. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, and ring that bell so you can be notified every time I post a new video. My next video coming up will be hindsight, so stay tuned for that. It's coming out soon. Thanks for the support. See you all in the next one.